was Jesus?
He was
He
our
is the
friend.
Lamb of God.
He was the
our
Messiah.
friend. He was the Messiah, of course, but he was also our friend.
We first met Jesus when he came into our hometown. Martha and I were happy to invite him to our house.
My house. Luke said in the Bible it was my house.
Into our home. He was a wonderful teacher, and we'd been hearing of all the beautiful things he taught and the wisdom he had and the miracles he did. He was amazing to listen to.
And that's all you did.
What?
That's all you did was sit there and listen.
Martha, you're a good hostess. No one cooks better or makes a better stay than you. But I had never heard anyone talk like him before. Such knowledge and wisdom, such compassion. You'd never know he hadn't trained in the temple.
And he talked with the upper class just as easily as he did with us.
Well, of course he did, because he was one of us. You know, most of us in the area around Jerusalem are peasants. There's not much middle class. You're either rich or you wonder where your next meal's coming from.
Yes, if you lined up 100 people, maybe 3 had any wealth to speak of. That is, if they would even line up with us. They'd be either Roman rulers, Roman government, or temple rulers.
Or have sold out to the Romans or the temple rulers.
And think they were too good for us. Like someone we could name.
Martha!
Judas? I never did trust that one. City boy from Jerusalem. He was always pricing everything he looked at.
But Martha, Jesus chose him too.
And why, I will never know.
Well, I think he saw something in him, just like he did with each of the men that traveled with him, just like he did with us. But he didn't force anyone to believe in him. Like when Lazarus died, he asked if we believed, but he didn't demand it of us. Remember that?
I do.
Our brother Lazarus had been very ill, and we sent for Jesus, but he didn't get there in time. And Lazarus died, and we were heartbroken for days.
When Jesus did come,
You ran out to meet him.
what?
You ran out to meet him. Always the woman of action.
And you sat at home. Sound familiar?
All right.
Jesus was so understanding, so gentle, even with our questions, our accusations, really. He really took the time to share our heart, our loss.
And then
he asked me to believe, even before I knew what he was going to accomplish for us that day.
And you said, I love this part of the story.
I said, yes, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, he who has come into the world.
And you were the first one to see it. And then, trust me, it gets better.
And then you talked to him?
Oh, Martha, you tell a bad story. Let me. And then he rose our brother from the dead. 4 days, dead, 4 days. Jesus basically walked up and said, hey, buddy, come on out. And out he strolled.
Yes, he did.
You know, you can't see something like that and not see that he was God come to us. Death, nothing. Illness, nothing. Hunger, nothing. Jesus could manage it all. And after all we saw him do and all he did for us, nothing would ever be too much to ask from us.
So, who is Jesus?
He's the Messiah.
He's our friend.
He is Jesus.
Jesus. Who was Jesus? He was a troublemaker. That's all he was. A guy capable of brainwashing a bunch of uneducated, credulous people that were dazzled by a few tricks. But we, the religious leaders, we knew better. Imagine the nerve of him coming into our synagogues and hinting that he was the Messiah, God's chosen ruler for the people of Israel. Can you believe it? We have a system of leadership for the people of Israel. Priests, rabbis, then maybe a prophet now and then. But Jesus wasn't on the list. Oh, he managed to persuade some people that he was wise and mighty, and the popularity went straight to his head. I've seen his kind before. Oh, yeah, they show up once in a while and attract a lot of followers from the desperate and the poor and the gullible. And then you know what they all do? They die. And they fade into history. But not one of them had the gall to suggest that he was God's chosen solution to Israel's problem of tyranny and foreign power, or that he could absolve sin. Which is easier, he says, to heal the sick or forgive sins? Sin is a chronic problem stuck in the heart of man, and only God can clear a man's heart. And Jesus thought he could dismiss sin like that? Without the sacrifice God required? No. Because here's the thing. Just like every other heretic before him, Jesus died. Dead. He does seem to be having some trouble fading into history, though. People are still talking about him. It's been months, years, and I still keep hearing his name over and over again for a man that died a criminal's death. Resurrection? Right. A fancy word his followers used to cover the fact that someone stole his body from the grave. But alive or dead, that still doesn't make him Messiah. Messiah. You know what his father was? A carpenter. That's it. Not even a very good one to judge by his income. I heard they brought pigeons to dedicate Jesus when he was born. A sure sign of chronic money problems. And his mother? Did you know that she was pregnant before she even got married? I tell you, no wonder this Jesus wanted to make himself seem important. Well, of course, people followed him around. He gave out free food. He offered them nonsense about heaven and peace and blessings. He managed to convince a few of them that he could heal people and cure illness. Miracles. There had to be dark forces or outright trickery at work to accomplish the things that Jesus did. Moses' law lays out that the priests must pronounce someone healed with washing and with the appropriate sacrifice, not by spitting in the mud or sticking fingers in the ears. We, not he, are the representatives of God's way. God's law is there for our protection. It's what makes the Jewish people distinct as God's own. We, the priests, hold the people accountable for their covenant with God. We, the rabbis, help them understand the teachings of our forefathers. We can't and don't expect the peasant on the street to know how to approach God. Imagine just being able to stroll out into a field and talk to Yahweh, the creator of everything. Ridiculous. He needed to be stopped, and he was, through a court of our leaders and a Roman court. Now, true, the trial might have been not entirely run by the letter of the law, but it was Passover, and action had to be taken. We couldn't let him go on. It was for the good of the people and the peace of our nation. Believe in him? Not me. That would mean rethinking everything I've been taught, everything I've dedicated my life to, everything I've worked hard to achieve and maintain, my position, my power, my control. Why would I give up all that for a dream, an illusion, a promise of something that could not be proved to me? You see, it simply defies logic. It might sound appealing, but no. Jesus was trouble. That's all he was. And as far as I'm concerned, he serves me best as a memory.
What was Jesus like? He was kind and patient, a hard worker, a great teacher. He was so many things. And he was an optimist. I mean, he called me, Simon Peter, a fisherman. What did I know about following a rabbi, a teacher? But that's what he did. And that's why I can assure you he is patient. He took time to teach us, a pack of untrained, uneducated guys he called to be his disciples. And he let us in on the lessons and the stories he was sharing all the time with others. He watched us squabble over position and just smiled and pointed at the child with him and washed our feet and talked about the blessings that come with humility and meekness. In a nation ruled by power and brutality, he led by being a servant. He was unconventional. He brought together a group of guys that had very little in common with each other and made us a band of brothers, willing to do anything for him and for each other. Even the ones that would turn their backs, Judas for one, me for another, it didn't matter. He saw past that and called us anyways. Jesus had a knack for turning what you thought you knew on its head, but always in a way that put people first. Well, after God, that is. He talked to women. He talked to Pharisees. He talked to tax collectors. He sat down and ate with them. Let me tell you, that was a little bit uncomfortable for some of us at first, and it sure made the religious rulers uptight. Really, the only people he had no patience with was the righteous right, the uptight, the upright rulers of the temple that knew all the rules and wanted to tell everyone how to follow them. I've never seen him so angry as the day he took a whip into the temple. It took us all back. It took me some time to understand. But I think I know now. He was putting God first again, along with the people that truly wanted to experience God at the temple, but were being ripped off in that process. It wasn't about a position he was trying to establish. It was personal. He knew God as his Father and wanted everyone else to know him too. His concern for people was personal. One woman about to be stoned, one thief on a cross beside him, one brother dead, buried, and unable to care for his sisters anymore. And his concern was personal for me. My own mother-in-law was one of the people he brought back to life. Okay, maybe a mixed blessing, but a miracle nonetheless. When I jumped out of the boat and started going down, he caught me. And let me tell you, when I pulled the sword that night that Judas gave him to the Romans, and I lopped that guy's ear off, Jesus just didn't save that guy's ear. He saved my neck from prison. The same thing happened the night of his trial. He didn't fight for his own defense. He didn't claim his right as a member of the synagogue. He just looked at me, and I knew he was doing this for me, for Simon, not the rock he told me I could be, not Peter, but for Simon, the fisherman who couldn't control his own tongue or anger. And that was even after I denied him 3 times in that same day. He did it for me and for you. Don't think just because you weren't there, he wasn't thinking about you. That was Jesus. People first, you first, so that you could be right with God. He was the Lamb of God, the perfect sacrifice, the only one that could put you right with God. He did that not by dying. Lots of people have died for things they believed in and people they loved. No, Jesus put you right with God by fighting death itself and rising again from death. Nothing, not even death, was going to keep him from offering you the chance to live with him forever. He was Jesus and still is.